Hello everyone and welcome to Spot. In this episode I have a very interesting Firewolf build for you guys out there which are still playing the good old D2R. So starting up with the distribution points, we are level 89 Druid and we have base value of 15 Strength, followed by 219 to Dexterity. I'll explain why a little bit later on, and the rest of the stat points are going into Vitality to maximize our life pool. Our resistances are looking very well, with fire resistance being 90%, lightning resistance 95%, and cold and poison resistance 75% respectively for each other, and our chance to block is 75%. And of course, all of you which are playing Druid knows that it's a little bit more difficult to get that high chance to block on a Druid class, so that's the reason why we have so much dexterity points. Another reason is to maximize our attack rating, because we're using a fire close attack as well as Armageddon skill. So in terms of defense, at the moment we got 1380, and of course those stats are before pre-buffing with CTA and battle orders. So now let's have a quick look over the advanced stats page. In here, nothing too fancy of course. We have 33% increased attack speed, 20% faster run walk, 20% faster hit recovery, 20% faster cast rate, poison length reduced 50%, ignores target's defense, 20% deadly strike, 20 fire absorb, 20 lightning absorb, and the most important part of all is minus 60% enemy fire resistance. This makes sure that we amplify our fire damage by a 60%, which is a significant amount, so take a note of that. Now let's move over to the skills page, and in here, starting up with the elemental tree, we got a maxed out Firestorm, maxed out Molten Boulder, maxed out Volcano, maxed out Armageddon, which is one of our two skills of choice for attacks. This one is distributing half of its damage being physical and the other half being fire damage, so it's a pretty effective skill even versus immune to fire enemies. And the rest of our remaining skill points are being dumped into Fissure to maximize the duration of the Armageddon skill itself. Now let's move over to summoning. In here we got just a single point into Oak Sage, which of course is the one-hit wonder skill of the Druid class. This one is very helpful in terms of boosting the survivability of you, your mercenary and your party, of course, if you happen to play online or multiplayer, that is. And it's a summon which dies pretty often, but of course you can just recast it and move on with it. So now let's move over to the shape-shifting page. In here, all of those skills are just a single skill point into, just to unlock them. And now if we take a look over the Fire Close skill, this one have two synergies, and them being Firestorm and Molten Boulder, which both of them are increasing the damage by 22%, and this is a significant amount of damage. So us having a maxed out elemental skill tree means that our Fire Close attack is gonna be pretty effective and deadly as well. So that's about the skill tree. Now let's move over quickly to the Mercenary Setup. So we're using a Desert Mercenary from Act 2, which comes with the Might Aura. And in terms of stats, he's looking pretty good. Of course, again, this is before pre-buffing with CTA and battle orders. So in terms of helmet, he's using the Dream Run Ward. Of course, this is an expensive run ward requiring Jack Rune. In terms of armor, he's using the good old Chains of Honor. This is a pretty good item in terms of both survivability and damage output, as you can see, adding to all skills, 200% damage to demons, 100% damage to undead, 7 to life stolen per hit, 20 to strength replenish life, all resistance is 65 and physical damage reduced by 8%, so pretty good item. Now, in terms of weapon, we're using the Pride Run Ward in an Ethereal Ghost Spear base, and of course this one is notorious for the level 17 concentration aura when equipped, and those two auras combined together are buffing our physical damage aspect from the build by quite a lot, so it's a very good addition to the build. So in terms of the advanced stats page of the Mercenary, physical damage reduced by 8%, 8 life stolen per hit, replenished life 15, 46% extra magic find, 166% extra gold from monsters, 27% faster hit recovery, hit blinds target, 289% damage to demons, 100% damage to undead, freezes target, and 20% deadly strike. So that's about that. Now let's move over to the inventory and charms. And first I'd like to say that I haven't really invested in terms of inventory in this character at all, so the charms which she's wearing are pretty crappy. And that being said, we have small charms with just additional life. Of course, we got some random Hellfire Torch for the Druid and Annie, and the rest of the inventory is just some sprinkled charms with all resistances and additional stats, and I happen to have a single elemental skiller, but of course you can invest much more than what I did, and that was basically nothing, and get yourself a perfect inventory with 40 or 45 life or elemental skillers. Of course that's gonna be pretty expensive, and to top it all up you can use small charms with 22 life, 5 all resistances, or 22 life, 3 to maximum damage and 22 attack rating, for example. Of course those are pretty expensive as well, you know how it is. And now let's move over to our first item, that's gonna be the helmet, and of course we're using the Flickering Flame Runeward. This one is pretty cheap, requiring only Pull Rune. And then again, of course, if you happen to be trading for a perfect base, that's gonna be some type of a druid specific class helmet, which naturally comes with 3 to Armageddon, 3 to Oak Sage, for example, and other helpful skills like that for the druid. Of course, those bases happen to be very expensive, so I haven't really invested much into it, but eventually those are gonna be the best in slot in terms of helmet. Now, what's so special about this runeward is, of course, the level 7 resist fire aura when equipped. Of course, this is helpful for survivability of you, your mercenary, and your team, if you happen to have one. And it also comes with massive damage boost in terms of 3 to fire skills and minus 12% to enemy fire resistance. Comes with 71 to mana, a little bit of extra maximum fire resist, 5% that is. Poison length reduced by 50%, which is massive. And just a tiny bit of defense versus missile, which is also pretty good option in terms of survivability. Now moving over to the weapon, this is a Hand of Justice being made into a Face Blade base, which ensures the maximum amount of attack speed possible for our character. This one comes with level 16 Holy Fire Aura when equipped, 33% increased attack speed, 303% enhanced damage, ignores target defense, 7% life stolen per hit, minus 20% to enemy fire resistances, 20% deadly strike, and freezes targets. So 2 out of 2 items so far have the minus enemy fire resistance mode. And now let's discuss the runes required for this runeward, those being Sur, Cham, Am, and Lo. So we have 3 out of the 4 runes being pretty expensive and difficult to find, so of course this is an expensive item. Now moving over to the shield, we're using the Phoenix Runeward, made into a Monarch of course, and again this is pretty expensive item as well, requiring Vex, Lo, and Jack runes. So the shield comes with level 11 Redemption Aura when equipped. This again is helping with our survivability. Whenever you destroy all those monsters on your screen, the aura kicks in and this replenishes your life and mana pool instantly. This one also comes with 393% enhanced damage, which is boosting our physical damage from the build pretty significantly. Then again, minus 28% to enemy fire resistance, so 3 out of 3 items so far have this affix, and this is how we achieve minus 60 to enemy fire resistance and basically amplifying our fire damage by a significant amount. Excuse me. After that we got 378 defense versus missile. Again, this is stacking pretty well with the defense versus missile coming from our helmet. We also have 5 to maximum lightning resist, 10 to maximum fire resist, and 20 to fire absorb. So with our fire resist being that high, means that most of the time we're gonna get healed when we are attacked by fire damage dealing enemy. Now in terms of armor, we're using the Dragon Runeward. This one is also on the expensive side, requiring certain low runes. Comes with 12% chance to cast level 15 Hydra on striking. Keep in mind our fire damage being amplified means those Hydras are gonna deal pretty good fire damage on their own. 20% chance to cast level 18 Venom when struck. Of course, this is adding a little bit of poison damage to our physical damage attacks. So after that we got level 14 Holy Fire Aura when equipped, and that being combined with the level 16 Holy Fire Aura from the weapon means we're boosting it up to level 30 in total for the Holy Fire Aura. And this is applying a significant fire damage to our melee attacks, as well as the pulse damage from the aura itself is being significantly amplified by the rest of the modifiers we have on this character. So it's a pretty good damage item, I'd say. Comes with as well 330 defense versus missile, so it's stacking pretty well with the shield and the helmet as well in terms of defense versus missile. 4 to all attributes and 33 to strength based on character level. Again, decent stat booster in terms of this item. Increase maximum mana by 5%, 5% to maximum lightning resist, damage reduced by 7, so pretty good item in terms of both survivability and damage output, as well as the shield, pretty much, I'd say. So that's about the run wards. Now let's move over to the gauntlets, and those are gonna be fully upgraded Mage Fist. As you can see, those are Crusader gauntlets, coming with 97 to defense, requiring level 69 and 151 to strength. The interesting part about those is 1 to fire skills, 20 to faster cast rate, and regenerate mana 25%. Of course, those are pretty easy to find and cheap to trade for, unless it's the start of the ladder season. Of course, they're notorious among the community, pretty easy to find as well. So yeah, good for damage boost and mana regeneration on this character. In terms of boots, we're using the Sandstorm Trek, and unfortunately those are not ethereal, so the ethereal ones are the ones which you'd like to aim for. Pretty good in terms of options, coming with 20% faster to run walk, 20% faster hit recovery, 14 to strength, 15 to vitality, 15 is the max which you can have. 89 to maximum stamina based on character level, 50% slower stamina drain, which, believe it or not, is pretty good option actually. Poison resist 69, again the maximum amount is 70, and repairing 1 durability every 20 seconds. That's why you'd like to find those as an ethereal, simply because they cannot be broken. And now in terms of jewelry, the left ring we're using is a strength booster ring with some attack rating, all resistances, and extra gold from monsters on the side. The other ring which we're using is again strength boosting ring with a little bit of damage and resistances on the side, so nothing too fancy. In terms of amulet, we're using 2 to druid skills with all resistances, magic find, gold find, and extra damage on the side, that is. And on weapon switch, of course, we have a spirit shield and call to arms just to pre-buff our character. Now, what kind of gameplay you can expect with a build like that? It's actually requiring a bit more than the standard builds, simply because you have to cast Armageddon every now and then. You have to switch back to human form, buff yourself with CTA, then switch back to werewolf form, so that can be quite tedious for some players, but me personally, I don't really mind it, so I'm quite happy with how this build turns out in the end. In terms of game content, you can do absolutely everything and everywhere, it doesn't really matter. You can play on players 8, basically this build is, I'd say, unstoppable, it melts everything. It doesn't matter if the enemies are immune to fire, you're also dealing significant amount of physical damage. And in terms of survivability, you have maxed out resistances, maxed out chance to block 75%, and pretty good life amount after being buffed and casting our Oak Sage. So now let me show you the build in action. At the moment we are on Hell difficulty, and again this is players 1 difficulty. So the monsters are not gonna be that strong, but I can maybe go into players 8 game just to give you a better example of what the build is capable of. That's a very long loading and transition screen. I don't know what's causing it, but bear with me. I hope I don't get disconnected. So let's see what's gonna happen. Oh, I actually didn't get disconnected. Okay, that was super long loading screen for some reason. And now let's show you the build in action. So first up, you buff yourself up with CTA, then you cast Oak Sage, then you buff the Oak Sage to get additional life, then you cast Armageddon, you morph into Werewolf, and then you're ready to fight. So that's it pretty much. In terms of damage, we're dealing 4.5k per swing with the fire close attack. We're dealing about 8k damage with Armageddon skill, so yeah. Even the immune to fire monsters, as you can see, I'm just pretty much one tapping them with the fire close attack. Even the Armageddon skill kills them super effectively, but then again this is players 1 only, so you can expect to get different results on different difficulties. So yeah, those monsters were immune to fire, but basically this didn't really matter. So now let's move over to Shank, and as you can see we have pretty good AoE. Then also we're proccing the fire skills from the Phoenix shield, that being the Firestorm, which is hitting super hard. We got 40% chance to proc that. We're casting some Hydras on the side. So in terms of AoE damage, we're pretty effective. We also have pretty high amount of single target damage coming from the fire claws. So as you can see, monsters being immune to fire, I'm hitting them with the fire claws and it doesn't really matter, they all die. So basically this build is absolutely melting everything. And yeah, and now what else I gotta show you is probably to go on a player's 8 difficulty game. So let's join this game for a minute. So we're on player 7 I believe right now. Let me just quickly check. Come on. What's up with the loading times today? Come on. Okay, so we loaded into the game, and now this is player 7 I believe it is. Yeah, so this is a player 7 game, and again we're doing the same thing, pre-buffing ourselves, casting everything, switching back into werewolf. And now let's quickly show you on player 7 difficulty. Again, pretty good survivability, amazing killing speed. Yeah, basically we're melting everything. Of course, we are not lightning sorcerer, so you can't expect that super high killing speed, but for what we are, I'd say we're doing extremely well. So on player 7 difficulty, on Hell, as you can see, we're absolutely melting those guys. And yeah, as I've already said, this build can do everything and everywhere. It melts absolutely everything. It's so strong. You can do PvP as well. It's super effective. In terms of PvP, all you have to do in terms of gameplay is just to cast Armageddon and exploit the werewolf skill and just run around until you finish your opponent. Pretty much that is. Even if they gear up for pretty high fire resistance, you still deal significant amounts of physical damage on your Armageddon skill. So yeah, this build is super effective for both PvP and PvM, super strong, very high survivability, very high resistance pool, decent amount of life pool, decent amount of damage, 9k attack rating. And I think that's gonna bring us to the end of this video, guys. I hope it's been helpful for you. Thank you for watching, stay tuned for the next one, and I'll see you later. Bye!